Actually, the problem is not the tool. The problem is the process feeding the tool. If you implement something, you need first to work on your foundation, on your process, your communication. If not, every problem will be reflected and will be named blue, even if the problems are in the foundation.
Hello and welcome to Tech for Finance, where we help finance professionals leverage technology to level up their lives. I'm your host, Adam Schulzen, and in this episode, we're going to be chatting with Nicolas Boucher, who is Head of Finance for Ground Transportation Systems at Thales, but now also provides online training courses for finance professionals looking to take Nicolas's 14 years of experience and skyrocket their finance careers. Nicolas studied in France, where he was awarded his MBA in Finance and Management before going on to work all over the world, starting in Paris before moving to work at PwC in Luxembourg and Singapore, before then moving to Germany to work with Thales. Nicolas speaks 3 languages, French, German, and English, and has 2 young daughters and enjoys traveling and tasting new types of food. Before we start, if you like what you hear today, please remember to subscribe to Tech for Finance on your favorite podcast platform and on YouTube. And for more content, head over to techforfinance.com. Nicolas, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam. And it was a really good intro. You did your own work.
Thank you. Yes. And did I also see that you grew up in Brittany?
Yes. So really, Brittany, the French part, so the northwest of France, at the sea. My dad comes from there. My mom comes from Belgium, at the Flemish part. And so I have roots next to the sea. And even though I don't live now next to the sea, each time I can go there and also eat seafood. That's for me a great source to get new energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we used to live some time over in Brittany.
Okay, where?
So the closest village was a little town called Boulay-Pistillon, near a town called Calat. I
Okay.
think the closest kind of bigger town was Gangon.
Yes.
Closest beach, I think, was Tregestelle.
Yeah.
And then, whenever they had the festival, Carone Festival, we used to be able to hear it from the house. So that's where we were. But it was a stone cottage in the middle of nowhere, and it was lovely. And like you mentioning your food, we used to go up to Calac or Gangon, and we used to order kilos of mussels, more Melvinier with, massive pots and fries or French fries. And yeah, there's some really good memories. So it brought a smile to my face when I saw that. As a bit of common ground there, I guess.
Yeah. Then I mean, it's a place you only go if you want to go there. You don't go through. It's not like Paris. It's not like any big cities. So you go there because you know it or you want to discover it. And what is good is now that with the climate being warmer, there's actually nicer because it's never that warm and it's a lot of nature. And I would say it's still also really affordable. So you can have a really genuine place, original place there, live the experience of people who go there and have nice holidays. And you can, if you like a sea sport, like doing sailing or windsurfing, is also a great place for that.
Yeah, very good. So a recommendation for everybody thinking of going to Brittany. Yeah, it's very, very peaceful. I love going there because at night the sky was totally black. You could see all of the stars. There was not loads of artificial light, obscuring your view. So yeah, we used to go there to get some peace and quiet, and it was amazing. So no, very good. So I mean, from the intro there, Nicolas, you've been all over the world. So how did you end up settling in Germany?
My wife. My wife is German, and when we wanted to build a family, we looked at a place with a good work-life balance, also where we can get help from the family. And she found a job here, so I moved also with her here. And I have to say, for me, it was good because it helped me continue learn German and be now fluent in German. And having kids speaking every day to their mom in German, if I would not know any word in German, I will feel really isolated in this family.
Yeah.
But with me, we speak French, and Yeah, to raise kids, Germany is quite a good place, and also was a good opportunity to change, to go from the accounting world and the financial audit firms, because I work for PwC, and now to change to go to a industrial company, engineering company, a big group. Change also from being an auditor to be now, I would say, like a controller or financial analyst.
Yeah.
Because depending if you are in Europe or in the US or UK, what I do is FP&A or controlling. So I would say like I cover these two topics. And also within Thales, I covered different topics. I worked on finance transformation, where we implemented the start of the business intelligence tools. Then I took over the lead of one of our units where I was head of finance there. So there we produce microwave satellites. So the tubes that you put in satellites, the
Okay.
microwave tubes. And and recently I moved to the transportation business, which is our main business, working for Deutsche Bahn in the signaling. And that was also a totally different business. You have project over 50 million euro over 5 to 10 years. So those are different problematics, and I still continue to learn.
Very good. Thanks for that. So from your travels around the world, I mean, how how has that audit evolved to the point where you then said, right, well, I don't think audit and processes for me anymore. I want to get more into the FPA and the controlling. What was that? What did that change look like?
Yeah. So generally, I'm somebody who like to work in cycles. So I have a 2 3 year cycle. And at PwC, I had 3 cycles. I had the first one as a junior, where I learned the job. I learned also the industry. I worked in financial services. Then I needed another cycle, and I moved to Singapore, where there I learned also another culture. I learned how to implement what I learned and teach that to people also in another country, because Singapore is still a young office, or was still a young office. Now they are quite mature, and they were recruiting people from US, from Europe, from Australia, to bring the knowledge and help the team there develop, because it was a fast growing area, and so they needed more people, more help. So it was really good to bring the best practices to Singapore, and also myself to learn there, because they had also other type of challenges. If you compare it to Singapore and Luxembourg, Luxembourg is 500,000 people, and Singapore at the time was 6 or 7 million. So if you do insurance for cars, you are not talking about the same level of insurance.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I would say when I came back to Luxembourg to do my third cycle, which is the manager cycle, at the end of this cycle, I was done with what I wanted to learn from audit. And I thought that I saw what the directors and partners were doing. And I didn't feel such a gap between what I was already doing as a manager, working on big clients, and the way to go to partner, and also what they were doing is not something that for me was such a big change that I wanted to continue to invest so much time. Um, and yeah, I wanted to see something else. And also, it started with the work-life balance to be heavy, because manager, you're already in the middle between the partners who wants something from you and the team who needs you.
Hmm.
And there was also, and there is still a shift in the audit, where you still need to work hard, but now the younger generation, they know that they don't have to. And at our time, it was like, okay, it was still there that you have to. So we were working hard, and now I would say like the manager now, they have to compromise between all of the pressure from clients, from partners, from the teams, to make sure that people stay and that they are not too overloaded. And I also thought that the job was a bit of managers doing that 5 or 7 years. because director is really the same than a manager or senior manager, that they would have been really heavy without that I was continuing to learn that much. And with my wife, we decided to move and to find something with a better work-life balance. And that's why I ended it. I ended it here in Germany and working for Thales.
Very good.
But for Thales, I did also 15 years ago or something like that, or 16 years ago, a training internship. And so when was sure that we moved to Stuttgart, I looked at the French companies and all of the international companies, and I just talked to the right persons to get an interview. And now I'm here since 7 years.
Very good. There's a Thales office in Doncaster down the road from me. I don't know what division or what they do, but yeah, no, just they've got a big footprint, right? So sounds like a good choice either way. So, but anyway, that aside, so my first question that is maybe a bit of usable advice for the listeners that we've got here today. So a lot of the work I do isn't with really, really large clients. It's in the sort of SME, what we refer to as small to medium sized business. And there are challenges, especially with small growing companies, when they do have to start doing their first audits, or say they're a charity or a non-profit where they're getting audited all the time. It takes them a lot of time and a lot of effort to prepare, have an audit. Sometimes audits can take weeks in worst case scenarios, months. Obviously, it depends on the size of the business, right? So for a smaller team that are just starting to be audited, or for a small business that is audited sort of semi-frequently, what advice would you give to make it as painless and maybe as short as possible?
If you can get somebody on board who already experienced audit in another company, I think there you can, it's the quick win and I would say like the fast track to make sure that you will have the process and the documentation set up because you have somebody in your team who knows how it works and knows what to expect from the audit. So that will be my first recommendation. If you cannot get that, then you need really to check with your auditor what are their expectations, how do they work, and don't wait the end of the year and the closing to prepare. What we used to do with new clients, we used to do pre-audit, interim audit, and dry runs. A dry run is basically 1 month before the closing. You make all of the processes once, and if you are comfortable on that, then you just audit the last month. That could be a good way for both the auditor, because he is auditing a new company, and for the company to make sure that you don't have the pressure of the closing plus the pressure of the audit in one time. You just need to make sure when you do that you don't have double of work, because if you do 2 closing, a dry run and a final one, sometimes you double the effort. So the goal is to spread the effort and not to double it. And the last recommendation, I will say talk with in your network to people who are used to have audit, who have been auditors. So people that they don't have, I will say, like they are not biased because they are not in your audit process, and they will tell you how they work, what is to expect from the auditor, how you can also handle the questions, which topic are really important and to pay attention, which topic you could, I will say, try to temper the request and reduce the amount of work you have to do for the auditor.
No, that's really useful. Thanks you, Nicolas. So I suppose try and not take on too much at the same time. Try and prepare in advance. Maybe get an extra pair of hands, and then speak to people that have done it before. I think that's really usable advice. Thanks for that. Excellent. So you mentioned a bit earlier on that part of your work at Thales was a transformation project that looks specifically at business intelligence. And you don't have to name the tool. I mean, there's so right. But I'm curious to know, for a large organization like Thales, what was the business case for implementing something like business intelligence? So what were you hoping to surface and find out using the tool that you weren't before? And the second part of that question is, now that it's in place, what has that enabled you to see that you wouldn't necessarily have seen before? Are you able to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So first, it was the business intelligence plus the whole organization to restructure for finance. So I was involved in the two topics. We Talas before in Germany was different locations, and each location was quite independent with their own SAP, with their own, I would say, processes, with their own accounting team,
Mhm.
uh, with their own reporting team, controlling team. And the goal was to centralize some of the functions and to leverage on the knowledge of the people. So we started first to consolidate the ERP, to have only one ERP. And then we plugged the business intelligence tool on this ERP. And then what we implement after, it was also a common planning tool to plan the headcounts and the cost centers. Because at the top level, the management of Germany wanted to have a view on the function cost, function by function, the headcounts, and the only way to do that was to use both a BI tool and a planning tool to have the data in one place, in one data warehouse with one standard, and that the process is the same for everybody, and that for reporting, we have a single source of truth, and there is no fight anymore about which version is the right one. Is it this one or this one? There is only one. And that was, I will say, the big win is to stop the discussion about versioning and start the discussion on the content of the function cost. Then there was other win is as we consolidated the teams, we didn't replace a lot of people going to retirement. So we reduced the size of the finance team naturally, like without that somebody had to leave. But each time there was an opportunity, we took it to have, I would say, like a central team for accounting, a central team for reporting, a central team also for all of the function cost topics. And then we left people in each of the, I would say, the locations to be closer to the business, to do business controlling or commercial controlling or industrial controlling. And now, like, I would say after this experience, at the beginning, I was really like pro centralization. Having been also now locally, I think there is, I would say, a hidden value, or not a hidden value, but like a value that we underestimate of having people near to the business and really focus on one part of the business. And that's something, having the balance between the central functions and the local teams is something that I would say it's a key for business, and not only in finance, but for every topic, to make sure that you operate only with the right team and with the right size of the team. And that's, I would say, I think a lot of companies are questioning themselves and looking at that. Now, if you use also the right tools, it's not even a problem of where are the people. It's how do they work. So there is a lot of question, I think, and there are trends. COVID changed other trends with remote. I guess what we'll see in new trends is people working more and more for themselves, and companies using freelancers. So we're going to see the change of the workplace and the business environment.
Thanks for that. And I think what you were indicating there as well is the relationship between either a finance center of excellence or a departmental center of excellence being able to work as part of the whole. So as you say, there is scope so that individuals or teams can become specialists in a certain subject. whilst ensuring that work is still communicated to the wider business. And I think that is front and center at the moment, because as you mentioned, people going into retirement, people moving on, we can't really have those silos anymore where we're being overly protective. This is my data, this is my process, I don't want to share it. But what you're saying there is not a case of, right, well, we're introducing technology to replace, we're not introducing technology to play big brother or keep tabs on people. We're introducing it so that everybody can work better together. If that's a
Yeah.
fair summary, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and also what I found is that if you bring a tool, let's say you name the tool, I don't know, Blue, and like 6 months after, people will complain and will just mention the name Blue everywhere. And if you replace Blue by the name of the process, is actually the reality.
Mhm.
And a lot of people will just use this name because it's easier for the brain also, complain about things about their work and the processes, where actually the problem is not the tool. The problem is the process feeding the tool. The communication between the people, that when they put something inside or where they use it, they don't use it the same way, or they are not aligned with what they should do. And if you implement something, you need first to work on your foundation, on your process, your communication. If not, every problem will be reflected and will be named Blue, even if the problems are in the foundation.
Yeah. No, and you're absolutely right. We see that all the time, and sometimes people think that the technology is the silver bullet that's going to solve everybody's problems. And now a lot of technology is still quite expensive, and people think, yeah, if we throw enough money at something, if we invest in all of these tools, then, everything's going to be better, right? But as you say, though, it's not always the case. You mentioned the foundations, technology to surface data quickly will only surface data of a bad process quicker. So all you were doing is speeding up a bad process, so what you want to be doing is tackling the foundations, as you say, and then only using technology at the point where it then has a use, as opposed to just, and I'm going to try and get them on the podcast at some point, and I can't remember the name of the business, but it's a new service that will basically search for all of your technology spend, because without knowing it, you can have, one software as a service application where you're spending X amount per month. And then in no time at all, you've got 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of software that you all think are helping. Somebody uses this bit of software here, somebody uses this bit of software here, but actually you're just spending and not getting much result from it. So that, and again, I'll put it in the show notes, but there.
And I can confirm that having 2,000 people in the company I am working for now, you have also 3 locations. You have engineering, you have research, you have manufacturing, you have supply chain, you have all of the functions. Plus, you have a group above you. I'm validating invoice, and I'm seeing names and names and names of softwares. And I'm just thinking, each time I ask why your team and the other team are not using the same software. And so there is always a good reason, but I'm always checking if we are not using twice the different software for the same purpose. And it's also a big problem because IT was before, I would say, the master of the temple and the safekeeper, and make sure that there is only one roadmap. But now companies are going directly to the functions, so the vendors, and say, you don't need IT with this tool, you can do it alone. And then it becomes really hard for company to keep up and have one roadmap where tools make sense together.
Yeah.
And again, like before with central local, it's a big dilemma on how do you deal with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, my children are screaming in the background. I don't know whether you
I
can.
didn't hear.
Oh, good. The microphone is doing its job of cutting out the background noise, which is great. Yeah, but as you say, I mean, now you can sign up for a trial of software for free, and oh, just to get this new feature, all you've got to do is you've got to pay, £5 a month or £10 a month or something like that. And anybody can do that, if they've got a bit of budget. Oh, that's fine. We've got some money left over, but take the number of planning tools that are out there, take the number of, budgeting tools that are out there, as you say, sometimes a single team, forgetting about, whether it's a group or different departments or different locations or anything like that, you could end up with 2 or 3 planning tools, 2 or 3 budgeting tools, and everybody's using a slightly different one. So what you're doing there is you're creating silos with software. Previously, you're creating silos with information and process, right? Now you're creating silos in software because everybody's using a different tool. So I think that's a very fair point. If you've not got IT governance that's saying before anything is procured, it needs to go through this sort of sanity check to say, oh, we're already using something like this. It's becoming a bit of a minefield, and I'd be interested to see how that goes. And because with less reliance on IT, with the likes of cloud software, where all of the infrastructure, all of the hardware is already bundled into the software, it's becoming easier and easier now just to sign up for stuff. So I don't envy your job, but as you say, going through the supplier invoices and thinking, hang on, I don't recognize this name. What is going on there? So yeah, challenges.
And one big point is, obviously, if you work in finance, it might not be your own decision which tool you're going to use, but it's going to be the reality that you have to work with different tools. And I always compare our working environment with that.
Yes.
You can download the app really quickly, and you don't need to go through a 1 week training to use the app. You can use it straight away. And now I would say, like, the younger generation, I think they are easier with this, but for all of the finance people, you really need to bear in mind that we are now in this generation where tools come and go. And when they come, they have to be used really quickly. So you yourself as a user, don't expect like for 5 or 10 years ago, where you will get 1 month of training and then a lot of documentation. No, forget about that. You get access. You'll get maybe, if you're lucky, intro in a presentation plus slides, and then you need to figure out yourself. And it's the reality. And like I say, it's like apps here. What is good is that now the vendors, they also provide a lot of documentation. So you can go on their website, you can go on YouTube. So go yourself, search for the information, but don't wait that the information is coming to you. And try always to identify who are the key users using the tool. And that's, I would say, the recipe to work well with tools, because that's part of your toolbox. And if you want to be efficient, you need to know how to use the toolbox and the tools inside.
Absolutely. And for people that are listening on audio, not on video, Nicolas picked up his iPhone there and was comparing this to the concept of downloading an app on a phone, right? And it's a fair summary, with everything being plug and play now, whether it's an enterprise application or whether it's, ERP, whatever the software is, we are becoming more and more a generation of it's an app for that, just download it and plug it in. But you make a very, very valid point there. It's one thing to download an app. It's another thing to know how to use it. And it's another thing to continue using that app to realize the benefit. So yeah, no, that's all fair points there. So that touches on the point of training there. You download an app, go to the supplier, YouTube channel, immerse yourself in those learning materials there to make sure that you are making best use of it. But coming on to what you do then, Nicolas, so you're now taking your 14 years of experience and passing that on to finance professionals to skyrocket. I love that, skyrocket their finance careers, which is great. So what was the tipping point there? What made you decide, right, I've got this experience, now I want to translate that into online training courses? Can you take us through that thought process?
Yeah, sure. So as I moved from PwC to Thales, I had first my own learning experience where I had to learn a new language, new company, new industry, new job. I moved from audit to controlling. Also new tools. We talked about business intelligence. So I was looking into a lot of information that I had to learn by myself. And at PwC, you have a whole environment of trainings and also training setup during the year to learn that. But in other companies is not as, I would say like, as formal, is not as well established. And so I had myself to look online, to look at ways to learn. And so I first moved to LinkedIn for that, my, because I wanted to be surrounded by people who knew about these topics. I wanted to learn from them. And so I started using LinkedIn for that. And after a while, once these topics were, I would say like, I mastered also these topics, I learned my new job, and I was comfortable. I thought it's my turn to give back and to teach first what I learned in audit. Because in audit, I was always doing that with the teams. As first, I think you start the second year that you already coach people. Then you're senior and you manage a small team. Then manager, you manage separate teams together. So I always coached. I was also teaching Excel there. I was also teaching audit. I was also teaching auditing insurance companies. So I think I teach and coach for 100 people or over 100 people at PwC. And I also teach in Luxembourg to different nationalities, French, Germans, Belgians, but also we had people from Romania. And then when I went to Singapore, I also had Singaporean, I had Malaysian, I had Vietnamese, I had Australians. So I had different nationalities, and I always felt comfortable also explaining to different cultures. And I wanted to do that, to continue to do that. First, I started sharing on LinkedIn. And also, when you share and you teach is a good way to learn, because you are not going to explain something that you don't master. So there is a saying that if you want to learn something, teach it to somebody else. And for me, it really works as well. So that's the first point. And this year, there was a point where really a lot of people asked me to help them. And I cannot, I don't have the bandwidth to help people and to take along people on their journey. So I decided to use the power of technology to create an online course.
Yeah.
And I made 8 hours of videos covering everything about budgeting and forecasting, because that's something I had to learn, because you don't learn that in audit. And having now done 7 budget seasons for different type of companies, and Thales is quite a heavy topic, so I'm always inside that, so I know how to do that. Then the whole financial analysis, it's a part where a lot of accountants want to move to FP&A, and they want to learn about that. So how do you analyze margin? How do you analyze the variance for a manufacturing company? How do you analyze a project? How can you also in a meeting answer to a question about figures, even if you don't have the response? So how can you calculate really quickly in your mind using some tips that I give in my course to give an estimate, and to make sure that you move forward in the meeting and not wait the analysis. And then a big part as well, we do a lot of work in finance, but our work is only valuable if you can explain it to non-finance people.
Yes.
So how do you make presentation? How do you explain finance figures to other people? And how do you talk to your CEO, CFOs, to other companies, to other management, other stakeholders? So I also give all of my experience with doing financial presentation in this course. And so I packaged that. It's also kind of a toolbox. People have different needs. People also in their career, sometimes they need something about budgeting. Sometimes they need to do a presentation. And with my course, you don't need to go from A to Z. You can just choose first a topic about financial presentation. And then 1 week after, you can look a video about how to improve your reporting. Then you can have a focus on sales forecasting. So the course is made as a toolbox that you can keep, because it's lifetime access. And that helps you basically have a mentor that you don't have. There you have access to that with this course.
Perfect. So from from your 5 modules, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but from what I can see, you've mentioned a couple there. So there's 5 modules: how to analyze variances, which you mentioned there; how to perform quick analysis, which is what you would, I think, talking about in your head. How do we estimate? How to make your reporting faster; how to become a better business partner; and how to make Excel and PowerPoint work for you. From those, and it ties to it. So one of the questions I had is, what do you think the biggest skills gaps are when you're speaking to people that are signing up for the course? But maybe I'll change the question slightly to say, from those 5 modules, I don't know whether you've got any way of analyzing it, but do you have any way of understanding which one of those modules is most popular? Because that might speak a little bit more about where people are self-assessing and trying to work out themselves what their skills gaps are. So is there a module that's most popular? Is there a gap that people are trying to fill?
So that's interesting because I did a questionnaire, and the 3 biggest one, which is the first one is on analysis, where also there is a lot inside. I really put a lot of, because I think it's the basis. The rest, once you master analysis, you can learn the rest really quickly. Then budgeting and business partnering / storytelling. Those are the 3 areas that people really loved in the course and where it provided them value. Some of them, they already knew about budgeting, so this area didn't help them much, but they loved how to make financial presentation and how to learn new analysis. They also get templates in my course, so they use the templates for their own job. Other people, they come maybe from audit, so they have a clue about financial analysis, but they never did budgeting. So then they use budgeting, the module first. And then people were more focusing on soft skills. Then they loved the part about business partnering and storytelling. And I would say for PowerPoint and Excel, it was, I would say, like the tips that I share, and also along the process, when I could show something about PowerPoint or Excel, I show that also a bit in the course, because I think it's something that can help people be more efficient.
Mhm. And I was having a chat so here in the UK, I think they're still mostly in the UK at the moment, even though I think their community is all over the world. It's an organization or a group called Grow CFO. And you can get membership, and it's an online community. And I was chatting to a guy called Kevin who runs their podcast. By the time this is released, we'll already be in 2023. So I think my conversation with him will probably also be released around the same time. But your point there about business partnering, they've kind of indicated as a trend for 2023. We've been talking about it for a while, the likes of, Christian Franz Hansen and Anders, obviously they do the Business Partnering Institute, don't they? So they've been focusing on it for a while, but I think now that people's careers are more focused towards not just the finance operational piece, people are wanting to scratch that itch to say, look, how do I become a better business partner? Because with technology soaking up a lot of the boring stuff to do, I need to be investing my time in other areas where I can create more value. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that in 2023. So maybe for you, maybe extend the course a little bit, have some more modules, focus a little bit, maybe break it out a little bit, more on storytelling, more on business partnering and that sort of stuff. But you'll only see from the data, right? So yeah, more questionnaires, that sentiment, what do I need to be doing more of? And I think, the business partnering will continue to be a trend, not just for 2023, but
that's why in the course, what I did is, let's say if you take the PVM analysis. PVM is price volume mix. So how do you analyze the changes of price and volume to know how move your margin or your sales? And I just don't teach the method. What I have at the end is how do you use it in real life? And there is where, even if it's not part of the module business partnering, but it's where I teach a lot of tips on how do you implement that in your company, how do you talk with your stakeholders, do you get the information, and then how do you make a follow-up plan. And those are topics where if you don't talk about the method and the content, it's really hard because it's too theoretical. If you just talk about, okay, help your stakeholders. Okay, but how? Which technique should I use first? How do I prepare that? And by going first in analysis method and show how do you use it in your business partnering model and role, then I would say like you have the full spectrum of what finance needs to do. Always have a good basis on finance, because we are not only people, we are not only business partner, we are finance business partner.
Mhm.
Then how do you, everything that you created for yourself and for finance, how do you make it available for the company,
Mhm.
relevant? Because sometimes we are really good at putting our head inside our Excel, stay 3 days inside and doing something nobody needs.
Yeah.
Well, first ask what people need, and then you can put your head inside, then lift your head up 2 or 3 times, and don't stay 3 days, but go
Yeah.
and check, is it something good that what I'm doing? Oh, you need something different. Okay, I'm going to adjust. And there you are going to provide a lot of value,
Mm.
because you are going to use your time for, I would say, the most efficient way and the most valuable way for the company.
Yes. No, I totally agree. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there in doing the right things with, how do you put this into action being part of the part of the outcome there, because it's one thing to know something, it's another thing to actually put it into practice. And I think that's why your content and your following does so well on LinkedIn, is because it's not just training, it's not just insight, it's not just a point of view, it is actually actionable. And that's what people want now. It's not just a case of learning something, it's how do I actually put this into action? So I think, no, it's really good to focus on. So thank you for that. So appreciate coming up to time. Um, have you got a couple? And what I'll do is, I'll take some of your LinkedIn posts, if I may, and I'll copy the links and I'll put them in the show notes, just to give some people examples of the sort of content that you're putting out. And of course, I'll encourage people to follow you. But from there, or whether it's, a couple of bits from your course, so that my listeners have got something actionable to take away. Have you got maybe a tip or two that people can focus on, people that can start doing now, as sort of a hint at what they get in your course that people can take away from this?
Yeah, so I think one thing I learned, um, when you do financial presentation, is how do you prepare a financial presentation before doing the presentation? And there are two things that works really well to make it more successful.
Yeah.
First, if you have bad news, first, if you have bad news, don't wait the presentation to talk about the bad news. Or let's say you just you analyzed your sales of the month and you missed by 20% your target. Don't wait 1 week to go to the board and present that. You call straight away the people that is your main, I would say, point of contact.
Mm.
Can be the CFO, or I would say like the guy, maybe your manager, then the CFO above him or the manager above him. But make sure that it is known before the meeting. Because if it's a news in the meeting is not going to go well. So it needs to be a news before the meeting.
Yeah.
And so it's already digested. And in the meeting, you are going to talk about how do we solve that?
Yeah.
Not why it happened. Because the why should be solved before the meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
People don't need to go in a meeting to understand about the question. They can read emails, they can get phone calls. They need to sit together at a table to take and make decisions. So that's the first point. The second, and that's a bit linked to that, is to understand in a meeting what is inner agenda of the people you are going to talk to.
Mhm.
And again, identify 1 or 2 stakeholders that you can talk easily and that you can talk on the phone, and call them before the meeting 1 or 2 days and ask, okay, is there something specific that you want to see? Is there a question that you have that you want me to answer on this meeting? If you think that you want to bring something new, ask, do you think that will be valuable? If you think something has been shown 3 or 4 times, ask, okay, can I take it away or put it in the backup because it doesn't bring value? And having this conversation before the presentation will help make your meeting much more successful. And you have also somebody, I would say, like in front of you, which is there for you and can vet for you.
Mhm.
And because it's going to be your common decision to focus on one topic rather than another one. And if somebody else comes and say, why do you talk about that? The other guy is going to first to defend you, say, no, we agree with that. And that was my decision. So you have already somebody, even if he's not in your team, but he's now in your team helping you also succeed in this presentation. And that will avoid you also make work on your presentation that half of the slides is for nothing because nobody wanted to see that.
Yeah.
And or that you go in the presentation, somebody wanted to talk about revenue and you have just one line when they want 5 slides. So it will also prevent you extra work for after the presentation.
Very good. Thanks for that. So yeah, two main tips there. So one, have hard conversations as early as possible. Don't leave them for the presentation because it will be derailed. I think is a good one. I mean, yeah, it's a different topic on how you build the courage to have those difficult conversations before the presentation, because nobody wants to give bad news, do they? So no, that's
No, but nobody hates late bad news.
yeah.
So nobody wants late bad news. Nobody
Yes.
wants bad news, but late bad news is even worse.
Even worse, yeah, absolutely. And then point 2 is early buy-in from the people that are integral to the meeting. Yeah, what do you want to see? What do we need to focus on? And then, as you quite rightly say, if you pre-agree that agenda, then you've got more support when it comes to presenting those topics. So no, that's really useful. Thanks for that, Nicolas. So last question then. So podcast, website, tech for finance. So whether it's your personal or professional life, what is one piece of software, one gadget, one piece of tech that you couldn't live without?
I think my phone first, because being somebody I'm a foreigner or I feel a citizen of the planet and not of a town.
Yeah.
So I need a ways to be connected with my family abroad, my friend abroad. I'm a lot into also LinkedIn, Twitter to get the news. Also to follow sport. I was in Qatar for the World Cup. I watched 2 games. So it was really great to see that by myself. And I will say right now, what I really like is listening to business podcast, but not pure business. I would say like fun business podcast.
Yeah.
There is one, I don't know if you know, the My First Million. It's a podcast where 2 guys had already a business before, so each of them separately in the e-commerce or internet business, and they sold it.
Yeah.
And now they have more time and they talk about every business they could do or what is their opinion about it. And they invite people and you discover a lot of niche that you don't know about and a lot of e-commerce or internet technique. And it's a great way to be motivated. And the guys are also really funny and it's really, it's a good entertainment. I would say like infotainment for me.
Yeah.
to spend time in my free time.
Perfect. And what do you use for your podcast? Do you use Spotify or do you use Apple or do you use Spotify?
Well, when my kids listen to their own kids' music, I have to use Apple Podcast because I didn't get a family plan yet, but soon I guess I will have to get one. But no, usually I use Spotify. I was a DJ before.
Oh yeah.
And when I have to think that how many cases of CDs I had in a car and like set up on a table, and now like I did 1 or 2 parties where I just had my phone and I just had like one playlist prepared in advance, and with a good like you can set up the fading in and fading out, and that's a great party.
The wonders of technology, eh? No, we used to do the set. So I used to play guitar at weddings, and we used to do that. So live band for the first couple of hours, but then as soon as it came to the disco portion, it was literally just a phone on Spotify hooked up to the PA with a preset playlist, and we could go and have a beer. Like just leave it doing its thing. It was so easy, really good.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's still important to. I would say you can decide on the next 2 songs
Yeah.
but you need to feel to be there and have to be able to switch quickly, because it might be that the mood of the party is not like what you think is going to be in 20 minutes. And so it's good to have your playlist and then you readjust based
Yeah.
on, okay, now I guess this song will make more impact than the other song.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't have to search it too much. You have to go inside your playlist.
Yeah.
And, but that's what I did before as well as a DJ. I had my CDs and I knew, okay, if now it's not working, I have plan A, B, C, D,
Yeah.
and I will use them. And if the mood was there, then I was going on a new series of new styles, and then it was working well.
Yeah. Fab. Yeah. But it's a fair shout on having a different account for the kids. And I'll let you go after this, but so I listen to podcasts in my car, right? So I'm not in there all the time, but it takes me just short of 2 hours to get to the office. And the podcast I've been listening to recently, quite a popular one is Diary of a CEO. That's quite a good one. And then I listen to, all sorts in between. I've got very, very eclectic taste in podcasts. But let's say that the family get up and it's 8 o'clock in the morning and they decide to ask Alexa to play Baby Shark. I'm kicked out. So why can't
Yes.
why can't
Or you get a call from your wife. Are you using now?
Oh yeah, you're on Spotify. Yeah, that's it. So no, we did have the family plan, but for whatever reason it reset. So I need to get that set up again. So, but which we digress. So anyway, Nicolas, where can people find out more about you?
First on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Nicolas Boucher. You will see my face, and I guess if you see colors about blue and orange, that's my personal branding. So it's me. I have also a website, nicolasboucher.online, where now I posted a lot of information in my blog. And if you're already somebody motivated and wants to take your career a bit further, and you don't have help in your environment, you don't have a good manager, or in the university you didn't feel that you learn enough, then just try my course, or you get a call with me and I can help you. So all of the links are on my LinkedIn profile. And if also you need any help for interview, I just launched last weekend a guide with the 50 most asked questions in finance interviews, and also how to answer them.
I think because you did a LinkedIn post, didn't you? I think I saw that. Yeah, that's fine. So, but I'll link to all of that in show notes as well. So it's Nicolas, which is Nicolas,
Yes,
and then Boucher, which is Boucher.
exactly.
Yep, LinkedIn and online. Perfect. Thanks ever so much for your time, Nicolas. It's been perfect. Really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. And I wish you a lot of success for the new guest. And thank you for doing that for all of the people who need inspiration in finance, or just need like to have opinion or views from somebody else that maybe in their own network environment they don't have access to. So now with technology and internet, podcast, LinkedIn, YouTube's, we all can have access to that. So thank you for doing that.
Absolute pleasure. And thanks again, Nicolas. It's perfect. Great stuff. Right. How do I stop the recording now? Oh, there we go.